You ever have a commander that you see and you just really want to make a build for, but they seem underwhelming until you have your eureka moment? Yeah, that's me right now. So I want to get into some context about how this deck even came to be in the first place, because this is what happens when you start Magic the Gathering at a very particular time and struggle to understand basic things about the game. And, well, I'll make it make sense here. So I discovered this commander here, Shesra Death's Whisper, and this is a card that I've had for years because I loved the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set. But when that set came out, I was not a commander player. In fact, it was another commander from that set that got me into commander proper, and that was Sephris, the dungeon commander. But I saw Shesra Death's Whisper, and there are two things that immediately come to mind when I see her. First of all, holy fucking shit, that is an attractive Golgari woman, and that's when my brain turned off. Maybe it's because of this, but I was not able to understand how I could make a deck built around this concept work at all. And the concept is she's just a Golgari commander that draws you a card if a creature died this turn. It didn't seem like something that would be that great to build around. And then Wardens of the Cycle came out in Foundations, and I was so excited for Wardens because I was like, oh my god, it's another Golgari draw engine card that could also be a life gainer if I am behind. This is fantastic, but why is this fantastic when me from a few years ago couldn't figure out how to make that, but in the command zone, work? And then it hit me. Ironically, it hit me while I was sitting in a hotel room going to a protest in Florida. And, well, that's kind of when you have nothing but time on your hands. And what I realized is that I had been thinking about this commander wrong years ago. I should not have been trying to build around her ability. I should have just been building a good commander deck and let her ability enhance that deck. So, without further ado, Shesra Death's Whisper is a Golgari and 2/1/3 human elf warlock. She has the Bewitching Whispers ability that says, if she enters the battlefield, a target creature is forced to block this turn. This is an ability we will not be making use of too much in this deck, though. She does have another ability, though, and that is at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may pay 2 life, and if you do, draw a card. So, again, when I originally thought of this deck, I could not perceive of how that would be enough to build a commander around. And then, as I've played more of this format, I've realized the commander does not need to be the strongest thing in your deck. The commander can just be a thing that enhances the rest of your deck. So, let me introduce you to some modal cards. Ob Nixilis Reignited, Liliana Death's Majesty, and Garruk Apex Predator. So, each of these have one thing in common. They all can kill at least one card on the board. Garruk can blow up a creature and then give us life equal to its toughness, or blow up a planeswalker, or make tokens. It has an ult that we're never going to get to, and that's entirely fine. Ob Nixilis Reignited can draw us cards, or blow up a creature, or, again, have an emblem we'll never get to, and that's fine. Liliana Death's Majesty has the ability to make a zombie token, which can be useful sometimes, but she can also revive a creature from a graveyard, which is more important for what this deck is trying to do. Now, why are all these cards important? Well, it's because they get to stay on the board and do their abilities over and over again over the course of a game, slowly giving you advantage. And that should be a bit of a red flag as to what we're going to be doing with Shesra. Instead of trying to build a deck that is around her ability, making her the centerpiece of some massive combo, which is how I envisioned Commander when I first started playing it, instead, we are going to be using her to generate small, incremental advantage to make up for one of the biggest problems that control decks have in Commander, and that is that outside of cards like Moldavine Reclamation being on the board, allowing you to get cards back when creatures of your own die, if I cast a control piece on an opponent's board, I am going down in value, and I'm going down hard. If I play a Ravenous Chupacabra, and it hits the board, it blows up a creature. Now I have a 2/2. I don't really consider a 2/2 that much board presence. So I've kind of gone down one card. And my opponent has gone down one card as well, but there are 2 other opponents on the board who have not gone down at all. I'm actually going down in tempo. because if I get rid of 7 cards, I dump my entire hand, I get rid of 7 cards across my opponent's cards, all of my opponents still exist. If they have 7 card hands, I've effectively knocked out 7 of their 21 combined cards. And I prefer playing Commander as a 1v3 game, where I have multiple opponents that I have to be handling with, that I will sometimes make deals with Hunger Games style, knowing I will have to destroy this person's life within 2 turns of making a deal. So how do we get around the tempo loss of my opponent played a card, I blew up the card, and now I'm down a card, they're down a card, but 2 of our opponents are accelerating further and further ahead in this game? And the answer to that is very simple. Always replace the card you use. If I cast a Putrefy on something and I go down a Putrefy and my opponent goes down a card, I am 2 cards down in this endeavor because there are 2 opponents who still have cards in their hand. For me to meet parity, I need to get rid of 2 more cards. We can get rid of multiple cards at once with cards like Merciless Executioner, and if we combine this with our commander, now suddenly I am killing 1 card each from my opponents, losing a card on my part, but also replacing it with a card at the end of my turn, meaning I am no longer at a tempo loss anymore. And some of the other ways we can avoid this tempo loss from playing Control is by playing a very, very robust Reanimation package. Now, when I say a robust package, I am meaning a Reanimation package where every card is doing more than just reanimating a single card, unless that card is very mana efficient at what it's doing. For instance, Back for More. This reanimates a creature from our grave, but then that creature fights a creature that we don't control. So if I'm reanimating, say, a Voracious Fell Beast, it is making my opponent sacrifice a bunch of creatures, and then it's fighting one of their creatures as well, meaning that I am getting rid of 4 cards, and then our opponents are losing those cards, so our commander sees that, draws us a card, and now suddenly I have gone down no cards, I've gone up 1 card, and my opponents have gone down 4 cards total. This is the kind of tempo that we need to maintain all game for our deck to work. So, in the realm of Reanimation, we are also going to be running Badlands Revival, return a creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield, and another permanent from our graveyard to our hand, meaning we get a creature that's going to blow up something on the board, and then on top of that, we get another card for a further turn. Diregrath Revival, a reanimation spell that has flashbacks, so we can use it multiple times. Revival Experiment, which can reanimate 1 card of every permanent type from the graveyard. Ever After, which can reanimate 2 creatures from the graveyard at once. Honest Rutstein, which ramps us while also putting a creature from our graveyard into the battlefield. Whoa, boy. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Squirming Emergence, a Golgari and 1 card that returns a non-land permanent from the graveyard to our battlefield so long as its mana value is less than or equal to the number of permanent cards in our graveyard. This is one of the most mana-efficient ways we can revive a creature in our budget. Like, obviously, we can't afford Reanimate or Animate Dead, so this is going to be as close to a good rate as we can get. Victimize, getting rid of 1 of our creatures that has served its purpose in order to get 2 out of the graveyard. And of course, our creature dies, so we are going to be able to draw cards from that. Dread Return, revive a creature from our graveyard, and then flash it back later to get another creature from our graveyard. Deadly Brew, force every opponent to sacrifice a creature, and then return a permanent from our graveyard to our hand. Or Rise of the Witch King, which does the same thing, but puts the permanent on the battlefield. Each of these reanimation spells is, with the exception of 1 or 2, doing far more than the average reanimation spell. Reanimation usually just lets us cheat the costs on cards, but we are going to be using reanimation spells as removal pieces, as board presence stabilizers, as all kinds of other things besides just being revival spells. But let's go ahead and talk about the draw package of the deck so we can get into more of how we are going to maintain tempo. Because our commander and some of our planeswalkers all have advantage gaining effects, we're only going to be running a 6-card draw package. Because again, we always have access to our commander, we'll be able to do stuff with that. So with the tempo swinging effects we are trying to go for, Siphon Mind is fantastic. We get to draw 3 cards, and our opponents lose 1 card each. This means we get to go up basically 1 for 1 in tempo with every opponent. Death Reap Ritual, another copy of our commander. At the beginning of each end step, instead of just our end step, if a creature dies, we draw a card. That counts any creature dying. Morbid Opportunist does the same thing, and Wardens of the Cycle does the same thing. Twin Blade Assassin also does the same thing. And then Moldervine Reclamation says if a creature we control died specifically, we gain a life and draw a card. So this will work well with our Fleshbag Marauder, Accursed Marauder style effects, creatures we sacrifice for things like Victimize. Moldervine Reclamation will be working for those. But that's really it for our draw package. It's really small, but we are going to be getting into more of what the deck can do when we talk about removal, which is where the bulk of the deck is going to be focused. So we are, of course, going to be running a very huge removal and interaction package, as this is the majority of what our deck is going to be trying to do. So 27 removal spells and 2 board wipes is what we are going to be doing, because we are a control deck trying to maintain tempo from our opponents. So let's go ahead and start things out with Meteor Golem, a lovely card that blows up anything we possibly could want, and it's overcosted, but we have a big reanimation package, so that's entirely fine. Voracious Felbeast, which will make our opponent sacrifice a creature each and then give us foods so that we can recover from our opponent or our own commander hurting us. Arbiter of Woe, which makes every opponent discard a card and lose 2 life, and then we draw a card and gain 2 life. Dusk Mangler, which can make all of our opponents lose a card from their hands, lose a creature on the board, and lose 4 life. Then we have Demon's Disciple, which makes all of our opponents sacrifice a creature or a planeswalker when he comes out, and he is flanked by Fleshbag Marauder, which is doing the same thing, Accursed Marauder, which is doing the same thing, Merciless Executioner, who's also doing the same thing, and finally Plaguecrafter, who is also doing that. Cards like this that make all of our opponents lose a creature are fantastic in a deck like this that is trying to keep tempo with our opponents. Vile Mutilator makes all of our opponents sack an enchantment and a creature, making us go up 6 cards in advantage. Acidic Slime is another Meteor Golem style card, letting us get rid of artifacts, enchantments, or lands, and then it has Death Touch, so we can actually force our opponents to block it with our commander's ability, which is a great bit of synergy. Then we have Tragic Slip, which can get around Indestructible by making a creature take -13, -13. Canker Bloom, which can blow up artifacts or enchantments. Putrefy, which can blow up artifacts or creatures. Shriek Maw, which can blow up a creature and also just be a fear creature punching our opponent if we need. We can evoke it too. Binding the Old Gods, which can blow up any non-land permanent and ramp us. Maelstrom Pulse, which can blow up any non-land permanent, and it helps us break parity if it hits a token that our opponent has been building up a lot of, because we get rid of all the tokens that have the same name. Speaking of tokens, Overseer of the Damned blows up a creature and also gives us tokens whenever creatures die on our opponent's boards. Windgrace's Judgment, another great parity breaking card, or rather a tempo breaking card, because it blows up 1 card from every opponent's board, which is a fantastic rate. Casualties of War, which blows up an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, and a planeswalker. It is effectively Decimate, but with the ability to hit Liliana of the Veil in her tits. Then we have Dalek Drone, a 3/3 that burns our opponents when it comes out and also blows up a creature. Insidious Fungus, which can ramp us or blow up an artifact or an enchantment. It sacks itself to do it too, which triggers our commander. Ravenous Chupacabra, which can blow up a creature. Convert to Slime, which can blow up an artifact, creature, and an enchantment, and then make an ooze afterwards so that we have a way to continue beating our opponents down. Death Sprout to ramp us and also blow up a creature. Noxious Gearhulk to blow up a creature and gain life. And Alpha Deathclaw to blow up any permanent, and also we can create a monstrous Alpha Deathclaw afterwards so that we can not only blow up 1 permanent, but blow up another permanent and then have a 10/10 Menace Trampler beating our opponent's doorstep down. And, of course, we have the board wipes. A Gaze of Granite to get rid of all non-land permanents as long as we sink enough mana into it, which can be important because there are planeswalker strategies, enchantment strategies, all kinds of strategies that just creature removal will not work on. And then we have Necromantic Selection to blow up all the creatures on the board, and then we get to return a creature from the graveyard that was put there this way to our battlefield. Sometimes we'll use this to get back our commander, but other times we'll use this to steal commanders from our opponents if they happen to be playing a strategy that necessitates that commander being out. Remember, Necromantic Selection can get in during the time where a commander would be trying to go to the command zone, because the command zone ability for every commander is a state-based action. Necromantic Selection is worded as a single paragraph. There is no point in time where a card's ability can slip in the middle of Necromantic Selection to interrupt it, and that includes state-based actions. So Necromantic Selection can take a commander and yank it from our opponents before they can move it from the graveyard to the command zone. And of course, like I said, we have our different planeswalkers who can blow up things on the board too if need be. That is the bulk of what the deck is trying to do, but we still need to talk about mana, so let's get into that. We are going to be running a 10-card ramp package with a bit of a leaning into creatures that can sacrifice themselves, like Burnished Heart, which sacks itself to give us 2 lands. Dawnshredder Elk sacks itself to give us 1 land, as does Diligent Farmhand, and so does Sakura Tribe Elder. But we have cards that do not sack themselves. We have Font of Fertility and Wayfarer's Bauble. They're not creatures, but they still get us lands out of the deck at a good rate. Wood Elves can get a forest out of our deck, which means we can get dual lands out of our deck this way. Search for Tomorrow can get any basic land from our deck put on the battlefield untapped, and we can play it on turn 1 with its Suspend ability, and Rampant Growth is the silver standard for all ramp spells. Finally, we have Awakening Zone, which a decent bit of the deck's budget is being put towards, because it makes an Eldrazi spawn that ramps us every turn, but because the Eldrazi spawn has to sack itself to give us the mana, we can use this to fuel our deck's draw engines as well. Past that, we have our lands. We're going to be running 10 forests and 9 swamps with a handful of dual lands. Temple of Malady, because it is great to play on turn 1. Haunted Mire, because we can search it with our Wood Elves. Golgari Rot Farm to reuse utility lands. And then the untapped lands of Viridescent Bog, Necroblossom Snarl, Tainted Wood, Exotic Orchard, and Command Tower. Then we have the fetching lands of the deck: Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, Escape, Tunnel. These are the basic, everybody has a billion copies of these lying in their bulk cards that just let you get the basic lands you need from your deck to your hand. Ash Barrens does the same, but at a really good rate of being able to just cycle it to get your cards. Then we have Promising Vein and Shire Terrace, which operate as panoramas for the deck. They can get us any basic land we need, or they can just be lands in their own right. They're nice and fast this way. Then we have Blighted Woodland and Myriad Landscape, lands that can ramp us, which is good because we are running a lot of expensive creatures, and we do not have a discard engine because we are not a truly reanimation deck, so we are not dedicating space to that. So we're going to ramp up into those creatures instead. Then we have the utility lands. Because we are a deck with lots of draw power, we may mana flood, so let's put Tranquil Thicket and Barren Moor in the deck so that we can cycle them out if we do happen to hit these cards. If we can get a Golgari Bicycle land sometime soon, Wizards of the Coast, that would be fantastic. Then we have a Mosswort Bridge so that we can cast some of our big bulky dudes a little earlier. Ominous Cemetery as a way to get rid of indestructible creatures, and Bajuka Bog to get rid of players' graveyards, because we have a reanimation package. They should not be allowed to have one as well. And that does it for the entirety of the deck. We are a control deck with a very robust mana package. We are trying to get some big, dirtily creatures out, and we have a bonkers-ass mana curve because we are a control deck trying to focus less on our curve and more on maintenance of tempo. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and see how the deck plays. Alright, so we have an opening hand that has a board wipe, a great draw spell, a Fleshbag Marauder in case our opponents get out ahead of us. Sidebar, I used this to beat a Kona CEDH deck recently when I was using my Savra deck, and that was fantastic, so I love Fleshbag Marauder. Anywho, let's go ahead and see what we need to do here to start out. I think a Promising Vein first, and tapping it for the Wayfarer's Bauble is the move. And then, of course, we forgot our draw for turn, which is the Ever After. That'll be great for later. Let's draw our next turn. It's an Ash Barrens. Let's play the Necroblossom Snarl, and let's go ahead and pay 2, crack the Wayfarer's Bauble, go into our library, and get ourselves a forest, because we already have a swamp, and that will put us in an okay spot for the next turns. Moving on, we have a Dread Return. Let's go ahead and play a swamp and pay 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get our commander out on the battlefield and healthy. And we can make a creature be forced to block this turn, but it's not gonna matter. Then move on to turn 4. Let's go ahead and play Ash Baron. No, actually. Let's tap. Let's sacrifice the Ash Barrens from our hand. Let's go into our library, grab a swamp, and play it. as our land for turn, and then let's pay 3, and let's play Fleshbag Marauder, force all of our opponents to sack a creature, and then we will lose 2 life and draw a card at the end of the turn. And it's a Death Sprout. That's fantastic. Next turn is turn 5. We have the Death Sprout in hand. I think what I want to do right now, more than anything, is pay 1, 2, 3, 4. Death Sprout, a player's commander, setting their strategy back a bit, going into our library, grabbing a swamp, putting that into the battlefield, shuffling, and then drawing a card at the end of our turn. Then we move into the next turn. We have a Windgrace's Judgment in hand, but let's see here. We have Ash Barrens, Wayfarer's Bauble in the graveyard. Let's make all of our opponents sacrifice a creature right now. Let's pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's revive. Revival Experiment gets a card of each card type. So we're going to get an Ash Barrens on the board, a Wayfarer's Bauble on the board, and a Fleshbag Marauder on the board. And it costs us 3 life for each. So we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to lose 2 life when we draw a card for Fleshbag Marauder sacking itself. So that happens, and then we draw our card at the end of the turn. Because we drew a card at the end of the turn, we can go ahead and get rid of a card, or we have to get rid of a card in our hand. Honestly, I think the right move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it Dawn Treader Elk? I don't think so. It's not Victimized. I guess it's Dread Return? It's Dread Return. We get rid of Dread Return, and then we'll pass to our opponents. They do their thing. We go to our turn. Let's Bojuka Bog a player's grave. And if they have board states, then we are going to wipe them out with Necromantic. Actually, let's just do that right now. That's the correct thing to do. Let's Necromantic Selection. Let's Bojuka Bog afterwards. We Necromantic Selection. We blow up everything. We get our commander back. And then we Bojuka Bog a player's graveyard away. And then at the end of the turn, we will draw a card and lose 2 life. Then, when our turn 8 comes up, we can play the Mosswort Bridge. Let's go ahead and look at these guys. I think it's Obnix, right? Let's turn Obnix over, put him here. We've taken out a lot of cards from our opponents at this stage of the game, but we've also taken a lot of damage from our own abilities. So let's go ahead and tap 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play Death Reap Ritual to kind of stymie some of that. And then we don't have an extra green right now. So we're going to pay 2 and play Dawn Treader Elk. And then we're going to pay 2 and sack the Wayfarer's Bauble to go into our library, grab ourselves a forest, and then pass to our opponents. They are going to be rebuilding their boards. We are playing a control game. We are going for the low and slow death. We've drawn a Putrefy. That is fantastic. We don't need that right now, though. Our graveyard has something that is useful. I'm not super concerned. Let's pay 1, crack the Dawn Treader Elk away, go into our library, get a forest out, shuffle the deck, and then let's pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's play Ever After. Let's resummon the Dawn Treader Elk, and then let's summon the Fleshbag Marauder to make our opponents lose a creature each, setting them back a little bit again. And then our commander is going to draw us a card along with our Death Reap Ritual. And on an opponent's turn, we will pay 2, and we will sacrifice, or we'll pay 1, and we'll sacrifice the Dawn Treader Elk to go into our library, grab ourselves another forest, shuffle, and then draw a card on an opponent's turn. Moving to the next turn, we have a Wardens of the Cycle. We can use this to start getting parity on our life. Man, as much as I want to play the Wardens of the Cycle, maybe the move is this. We don't have the power yet for this guy, so we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get Wardens out. Boom. Then let's pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get Acidic Slime out. Acidic Slime is going to blow up a problematic card on the board, and then we're going to pay 1, 2, 3, and we are going to Victimize, and we're going to get rid of the Acidic Slime, and we're going to play the Dawn Treader Elk, and of course the Fleshbag Marauder, which is going to make our opponents lose more cards. That is supposed to be shuffled in the library. They're going to lose more cards, And we have a little bit of power on the board, not a ton. And I think I already played a land for turn. Fairly certain I did. So we're where we are. We've blown up creatures. Our opponents are set back once again. We get to draw 2 cards at the end of our turn, and we are no longer losing life for doing so, because our Warden of the Cycle is now giving us life at the end of the turn, helping us not lose life from our commander. So, move into our actual next turn. We have a Gaze of Granite in case things go awry. Let's go ahead and play a Forest for the turn. And I think the move that I'm going to go with is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Arbiter of Woe. Arbiter of Woe is going to come out, and he's going to make us sacrifice a creature. I think it's fine for us to sacrifice our commander to the Arbiter of Woe, and it's going to gain us 2 life and draw us a card. Then we get to pay 1 mana, tap the Mosswort Bridge, flip up Ob Nixilis Reignited. Now we have access to Ob Nix, and we can go ahead and plus him by 1 to draw a card and lose a life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's then pay 5 mana, and let's use Windgrace's Judgment to blow up the most problematic cards from each player's board. And then, now that we've done that, at the end of the turn, we will draw a card from Death Reap Ritual, and we're going to gain 2 more life with our Wardens of the Cycle, discarding a forest. Now we are just trying to get keep Ob Nixilis alive, which we can do because we have a 5/4 flyer, and we can kill any problematic card our opponents have if we need to. We've drawn a Deadly Brew. That's a really useful card for us right now because we can pay 2, Deadly Brew. We can get rid of the Dawn Shredder Elk as we do not need it right now. And let's see what we have in our grave that would be useful for us to pull up. I should not have done that. I moved all those to my library. Thankfully, it kept them all in the same spot. So what are we going to be reviving, or not reviving, but putting in our hand with this? I think the correct permanent to put in our hand from this, after making everybody sack a creature, is going to be... It depends on the board states. If they've got a lot of creatures, we're going to get Acidic. We're going to get Fleshbag Marauder. If they don't, we're going to get Acidic Slime. Let's choose Fleshbag Marauder. Let's assume that we are playing creature-heavy games, as we usually are in games of Commander. Pay 3, Fleshbag Marauder comes out. Boom. They are losing even more creatures. 1, 2, 3. Demon's Disciple. They will lose even more creatures. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go ahead and play our Hot Golgari Girl Commander, and we are going to plus Ob Nixilis by 1. Yep, plus him by 1, and then add another card to our hand. At the end of the turn, we will draw 2 cards and keep life at parity, and we're going to get rid of that Shire Terrace from our hand. Ooh, we have Squirming Emergence here. That's going to be useful. So, next turn comes up. Ob Nix is ready to do its thing again. Let's go ahead and plus him by 1. Our opponents have played Cardboard. Let's go ahead and ruin everything for a lot of our opponents. I want to go ahead and cycle the Baron more and draw a card to see what we get. Ooh, it's the Ever After we had to shuffle back into our deck. Yeah, that's fine. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're paying 7 mana. Right? Yeah, 7 mana. We're going to Gaze of Granite. We're going to blow up all the non-land permanents on the board that are not... what am I thinking? Gaze of Granite's going to blow up all the non-land permanents that are 4 or less, which is going to set our opponents back again. They're losing mana rocks to this. They're losing a ton to this. And then we're going to spend the rest of our mana, and we're going to be playing Ever After, so that we can get back our Warden of the Cycle that we had before. And... fuck it. Our commander would have gone to the grave. We would have let our commander go to the grave. And we would have just put this. So we Ever After to go back to the exact position we were in before with our commander and Warden of the Cycle out. So at the end of the turn, we'll be drawing a card, discarding a card, and Ob Nix is ready to emblem somebody. So, like, we're just hitting people with the Arbiter of Woe. We are on turn 13, and players have not been able to play a game of Magic the Gathering. because we've just kept on getting rid of important cards. So now we do Forest, and fuck it, let's set them back again. Swarming Emergence. Let's go and get the Fleshbag Marauder. Everybody lose a creature, and then that means we're going to be able to draw our cards at the end of the turn. I don't need to use that Rampant Growth right now. We're going to Maelstrom Pulse to get rid of another problematic card. And we're going to use the Fungus to get rid of another problematic card. And then whichever opponent has the highest life total, we are just cracking Ob Nix, and that opponent is getting the emblem that says that he dies as we draw cards. So we are drawing our cards at the end of the turn, and he is just taking damage. And now we can use Honest Rutstein to get a creature back from our grave at the end of the turn, or at the next turn. So that's fine. We can use Putrefy to get rid of a problematic card on our opponent's board if they have one. Like, we are just holding our opponents hostage right now. We are being a mean deck. This is what happens when somebody says that your decks aren't good. They can't actually hold it at stronger tables. Like, no, I am effectively playing a stacks deck at this point. I am just keeping my opponents from playing Magic the Gathering. Liliana, Death's Majesty, we're going to revive a creature from the grave and put it out on the board. What creature do we want? Is it the billionth Fleshbag Marauder? Yes, it is. Demon's Disciple comes out. Everybody lose a creature. We are playing the game of you get to suffer while I inflict suffering upon you. That is the game of Magic I am playing. Then let's get rid of cards in your hand. You don't need them. Siphon Mind. I want to draw 3 cards. Like, 1, 2, 3. Let's play Honest Rutstein. Let's get back a Fleshbag Marauder. Let's play it again. Like, we are just in, like, you just don't have creatures, and I'm punching you in the face with Wardens of the Cycle and Arbiter of Woe. This is the death of 1,000 cuts without being aristocrats. This is evil incarnate, all on the back of my true weakness, hot Golgari women. If you are upgrading this deck, I highly recommend going one direction and one direction only, and that is adding more controlling planeswalkers, as they are some of the most reliable ways to maintain card advantage on the board. And as you've seen, the deck is able to cleanly sweep creatures off the board at a pretty rapid pace. Cards like Liliana, Waker of the Dead, which can make every opponent discard a card and eventually lose life, but also can be used to give a indestructible creature the neg X. Liliana of the Veil, who has the vaunted ability to make everybody discard a card once again, and can make a player sacrifice a creature if need be. Dreadhorde General, which can make us tokens and also force every player to sack creatures, and gives us another fantastic draw engine built into her. Liliana Heretical Healer, which we can use to not only be a lifelinker to make us not die from our commander's ability, but if one of our own creatures dies, then we get to flip her into the Defiant Necromancer, which has the ability to make every player discard a card, and then has the revive ability that we love having on Liliana Planeswalkers. Her emblem, which we could actually get to in a deck like this pretty simply, says whenever a creature dies, return to the battlefield under our control at the beginning of the next end step. This is a fantastic way to close out a game, and if you're upgrading the deck, these will start patching up some of the negative aspects of playing a deck like this. Not only will you be locking players into a game to suffer, you will have ways to actually close out said game. Speaking of ways to close out said game, Skeletal Swarming will be able to give you an army big enough to close out a game over time. Glissa Sunslayer has First Strike and Death Touch. Not only will she defend your planeswalkers, but she can get rid of counters on permanents. She can blow up enchantments. She can let you draw cards. She is a fantastic omni tool in a deck like this. Then we have Vraska the Unseen, which can blow up any non-land permanent, can be used to make assassins that can win the game for us, and until the end of the turn, whenever a creature deals combat damage to Vraska, we can make them get destroyed if they try. And if you are building this deck, I actually have a request for you personally. There is something that I wanted to run in this deck, but it technically broke budget, and it was a bit frustrating to try to play in playtesting, but I've always been a fan of the terrible, terrible Planeswalkers from the Planeswalker decks. Vraska Regal Gorgon is not a good card. For 7 mana, she can blow up a single creature or put a 1/1 counter on a creature. That is a terrible plus ability. She is not good, but you can run her with Vraska's Stone Glare, which can blow up any creature, gain life, which is great for what our deck is trying to do, and then it searches the Vraska Regal Gorgon out of the deck. Yes, effectively, this is making you pay 11 mana for the opportunity to blow up 2 creatures, but at the same time, it's just so cool and thematic. I would highly recommend giving it a shot. I find that these things are fascinating. Bad, but fascinating. I actually really do enjoy these. Also, you could throw in a Sereth the Viper's Fang to give your stuff Death Touch so that you have a little more synergy with the I'm forcing you to block my shit thing that the deck can do if you so choose. That all said, I do want to say thank you for watching the video. I had a fun time building this deck, and I'm going to have an even more fun time forcing people at a table with me to not be able to play Magic the Gathering while I have fun dicking on their board states. That all said, if you want to hear me talk about Magic and other things I care about, I do have a stream every Monday through Thursday, and I also have another channel where I talk about things that are important to me. I also have a Fourth Wall shop and a Patreon if you would like to support me directly. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, please consider doing so. But for all of these things combined, you can just go to Blue Sky and you can see when I'm going live. You can see my opinions on recent Magic stuff. I've been talking about the Final Fantasy set over there. Let me know what you think over there on Blue Sky. Also, thank you for watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it, even when it's effectively me playing villain monologuing the deck. Anyway, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Leela Uraraka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.